Hi, everyone, and welcome to the brand new Race Anywhere Transatlantic Championship powered by Sim3D right here on Absolute Sim Racing. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and with Daniel Hanover joining me in the commentary booth, we'll be bringing you all the best in GT3 action from some of the world's most storied and challenging circuits. After an action and adventure-filled preseason race last week at Imola, we head to North America and to the World Center of Racing. Tonight's venue replaced the sandy road courses built on the beaches of North Florida, and in 1959 became not only the first oval in the United States other than Indianapolis to stretch over 1.5 miles, but it also became the first multi-purpose facility with what was then a 3.8-mile, 7-turn road course. The course has changed somewhat over the years, and tonight we race with what the natives call the sports car circuit, 3.5 miles and 12 turns, where our drivers will have to balance outright speed with handling on a low grip infield course. Tonight we descend upon Daytona International Speedway. So Daniel, first off, welcome to my side of the Atlantic Ocean here, and it's great to have you by my side again tonight. So last week, we were at Imola, and we had almost 60 GT3 drivers across 3 classes, and they battled it out for what essentially was a 75-minute qualifying session to set the grid for tonight's race. And, if the action that we had last week is anything to go by, it should be an absolutely mega 10-race season here in the RATC.
Oh, it should be absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, absolutely. It's just going to be fantastic. I'm very, very excited to get going, and I'm sure everyone else is as well. As you say, a lot of things happened last time out, and I think realistically, this is going to change This is going to change the way in which we approach and the way the drivers approach this race, because, as you say, it's no longer a sprint now. People are playing for championship points. People are now playing for an actual point rather than just a qualifying position. So it's all going to change, I think, from now, I think, onwards through the remainder of the season.
Yeah, without a doubt, Daniel. And as this race goes on, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But again, we had the drivers for what was essentially this long 75-minute race to qualify and set the grid for tonight's race. And all of our races here in the RATC, they require 2 pit stops from each one of the drivers, so it wasn't just a huge sprint race. But we're definitely going to be mixing things up as the season goes on. This is going to be the first race and probably the only race of the season where the grid is set by that finishing order, that typically we do not have a qualifying session going into each week's round. But what we do is we base the grid on the point standings, and to make it more interesting, the further down you are in the point standings, the further up in the grid you're going to start each race. So you're going to have that dynamic of the guys at the front end of the grid having to hold off the points leaders as they try to march their way up from the back of the packs, and vice versa. You're going to have our points leaders trying to fight and make their way up back towards the front. And it should, make for, I think, some great battles on track. But in addition to that, I think it's gonna promote some very tight points battles over the course of the season here. Again, as we're getting ready to race here at Daytona, you can see the headlights are on, the light poles are on, and it is, although it is just about a little bit, we're about 5 minutes before cars roll off here tonight, even though it's about 8:30 in the evening Eastern time. I believe the clock in the simulator is actually set right at about 2 hours ahead at about 10:30 in the evening. So it's about 75 degrees, and it should be a great time. But as we're getting ready, and we're going to talk more about the great prize packages that our great title sponsor of the Driver Championship, Race Anywhere, has available. Wanted to make mention here as we get underway that we have this great offer on tap right now, a great sale that Race Anywhere is offering on Pro Sim Rig triple and single monitor stands. You can see the prices there. They are in UK pounds. The offer is good through September 8th, but Race Anywhere, they do ship anywhere around the world, and my understanding is that shipping to the US is free. And you can find out more about, again, our title sponsor for the Driver Championship Race Anywhere by going to www.raceanywhere.co.uk. All right, so as we get things ready to go here, and we've got the drivers, they're in their last 10-minute practice. They just had a drivers meeting. Let's look back just a little bit here, Daniel, to what we did see in Imola, and this is going to be to what makes up the grid. But, when we first saw all the drivers show up for the championship, the one thing that we mentioned was it was so heavily leaning towards the Lamborghini GT3 Evos. And we were, I think a little bit surprised by that. But when we took a look at the finishing orders across each one of the three different categories, again, across the Pro category, the Pro-Am category, and the Am category, really a great mix of cars that, the top of the field wasn't just littered with the Lamborghinis. In the Pro class, we had the McLaren take the win with a couple of Audis rounding out the podium. We had in the Pro-Am, we had the Porsche and a Merc take the top two spots. In the Am category, we had a Mercedes AMG Evo take the win with a Ferrari finishing second and an Audi finishing third. So lots of great mixes here of cars, and we've got pretty much the entire inventory, iRacing's inventory of GT3 cars, and again, split all across with our drivers here. Once they decide on a car at the beginning of the season, they've got to stick with that car all the way to the end. So we've got the Ferrari 488s, the McLaren MP4s, we've got the Audi R8s, the BMW M4s, which were very strong, the Mercedes AMGs, as I mentioned, the Lamborghini Huracan Evos. We've got, I think, a few Ford GT3s littered in there, as well as a number of the Porsche 911s as well, of course.
There's a bit of everything, isn't there? Which is great. I think, again, it shows that we've got a very, very strong case, I think, in terms of this spread of the GT3 cars. And it goes to show as well that everyone is there catering to their own driving styles. And, having it as close as we did before, bear in mind, last time I was out, remember, at Imola, we had 4 McLarens, and they were all very much up there. Sean Campbell being one of them. Unfortunately, with his incident mid-race, he wasn't able to capitalise on that early pace that he had. But the McLarens are quick cars as long as you drive them correctly, and as long as you drive them how they like to be driven, much like any of these cars here, you will perform better. So having that ability to choose any of the roster from the GT3 cars we have currently on the platform, I think it's a fantastic opportunity, and have a look through there already. The top 5, you've got 4 different car classes. BMW right at the front, you've then got Porsche, then McLaren, and then Mercedes. A little bit further down, it's Daniel Tenorio. You have got then the Lamborghini. Admittedly, this isn't necessarily based on the pace that we're going to see within the race. However, this is still something to be cautious and to take into consideration, because these guys have had an hour and a half warm-up.
Exactly. They've been out for a good amount of time this evening. They were driving in similar conditions over the past 2 evenings as well. And, right now, I think what we're looking at, and as these drivers are out here, lap times, you can see now with our fastest driver in practice, Pj Sturgios, in his BMW M4 with a 1:43.811. That's actually a little bit quicker than what we saw in the practice last night. And so over the course of a 75-minute race, we're probably looking at somewhere around, I believe, 52 laps, 53 laps here. And again, with each driver having to take 2 pit stops, it should make for some very, very tight and interesting racing here, as we're getting right down to the very end of our practice session here. Only about a minute remaining, as we mentioned, Sturgios. And I might add that these times our drivers have been out for an hour and a half practicing, so quite a bit before we came on air. And so drivers have had quite a bit of time to set these laps, as the track has become maybe a little bit more rubbered in, as the temperatures have dropped a little bit, as it's getting a little bit later in the evening down at our virtual Daytona International here. So, but very similar lap times to what we saw yesterday. Of course, the question will be is if they're going to be similar in race conditions as well. but again, should be some very tight racing. So as we get ready, and we have just a couple more seconds, we talked a little bit about Race Anywhere, who is our title sponsor, and they are sponsoring the Driver Championship. Let's also mention very quickly Sim 3D before we get started, and they are the title sponsor for the Team Championship, and we have a number of different teams that are out here running today. You can find out more about them at www.sim-3d.co.uk, and they offer button boxes, immersion kits, paddle shifter replacements for your sim setups, and they are very happy to sponsor us here for our inaugural season. So why don't we go and we'll start running down the starting grid here, as we have our drivers are going to be starting to grid up, and we've got a short pace lap here at Daytona, and we'll get things underway for our 75-minute race to the checker. All right, so starting off, and we are looking right now at our pro class, and it is Justin Brunner in his McLaren. He's going to be on the pole with Dave Menino, also in a McLaren, starting in second on the outside of row number 1. Row number 2, going to be Derek Ekmanis and Nate Olson, the two Lamborghinis. They're going to be starting 3rd and 4th. Then we've got Sean Ryan in his BMW with Isaac Snyder in the Porsche, making up row number 3. Row number 4 is going to be Ryan Koprowski and Sean Campbell, who you mentioned a little bit earlier, had that great start in race 1 last week. Harry Wills will be starting second with Alex Streeba, making up the row number 5. Then we've got Pierce and Belmont, and I'll tell you, I don't think we're going to make it down through the entire grid here. Let's do this. Let's just run them across the screen here as our first group is going to go through here. But we'll mention that our pole sitter in the Pro-Am class is going to be Tyler Campbell, with Dave Tenorio starting second. Metzger and Brewer will be starting on row number 2. And in the AM class, Scott and Martinez, Scott in a Merc, Martinez in a Ferrari will be making up row 1. Fowler and Yerksoy in Audis will be making up row number 2, as we have our pro field now making their way down, and as they come onto on this tri-oval, what we would call the front straight, when they get to basically the green infield portion, that will be as the pace car now heads down onto the pit lane, the start of the start zone right there. And as our drivers come down, our pole sitter, he can start to accelerate. There's no passing till you get the start finish, but they are past the start finish line, and it is Justin Brunner, our leader. He's going to head down into turn 1 with Dave Menino running second. Nate Olson right back behind him, side by side with Darren Ekmanis, trailing right back behind Sean Ryan, as they all start to make their way down to the International Horseshoe, turn number 3 for the very first time, as things start to line up here just a little bit. Great move there by Sean Campbell, getting around Sean Ryan, and Ryan Koprowski just a bit behind, as we now jump back to the start of our second group. That is the Pro-Am field, and it looks like they are all the way already underway here, as we've got Tyler Campbell, our leader, with Metzger about 2 car lengths back in the Lamborghini. Dan Tenorio in his Lamborghini another half a car length back from there, with Frederick Lavoie and Wilson Brewer, the BMW and the Audi, currently running 4th and 5th, and you can see still very tight running there as they start to make their run now down towards the International Horseshoe as well. Let's jump back over now to our AM category as they take the start.
Well, actually already through turn 3 and turn 4, to be fair.
Yeah, you're right. They're way ahead of me. There you go. We've got Mark Scott leading the charge right there in his Lamborghini, and it's 3 Lamborghinis all the way at the front of the AM category, with Steven Martinez and Errol Yerksoy. Then we've got Michael Fowler in the Audi running in 4th. Oh, and we've got a car that has gone around, and a couple of cars now that have had an impact. Oh! And I guess that's how we know what the Lamborghinis are. Those sharp noses at the front are good for. They can go right underneath a car. But we have a couple of drivers that have gone off. I think Dan Floria, Ron Soska, possibly Matt Alvis as well, with issues there. Let's take a look at the replay, and we can see there. That was our leader, the 67 machine from the AM category, Mark Scott, who had gone around and had tremendous impact there. That's going to drop Scott now all the way back to, I believe, 14th position in the AM category. So not the first lap that he was looking for.
No, not at all. Like I said, it's a 75-minute race. You've got to make sure that you're calm, collected. And I mean, it was unfortunate there with the incident that happened. At one point, there's just nowhere to go, really. You've got to be pretty cautious and also pretty lucky to be able to get through something like that. And it is a bit of luck of the draw, whether you will or not. Further down in the Pro-Am category, Ryan Koprowski just getting past, and that is Erlich Boehmer. They're having a bit of a battle at the moment. Let's not count out. That is, I believe, Alex Streeba. Yes, it is indeed for FTR Esports, the number 50, getting involved. I think Erling had obviously, it does seem to have a slow start on the exit going onto the oval section. John Casey's just had an incident. We'll see if we can get a replay of that in a few moments' time. We get 56 cars or 55 cars on the grid. Absolutely madness. There is John Casey there trying to recover. He has got a bit of damage on the front though, so keep an eye out. Yes, actually, he's got a lot of damage over the front. That's going to be that's a problem. That is going to be a big problem, especially at a track like this, which is all aero and it's all slipstream based.
Exactly. As he goes up onto that oval without the hood on the car there, it's definitely going to impact his ability to carry speed around the portions of this 2.5 mile oval here, but might not be so horrible down in the infield as we track right now. Pj Sturgios, again, he was our fastest driver in the practice earlier in the number 57 BMW M4. There you go, the black 57, trailing right behind Jackson Start. That is the battle for 10th right now, and both of those drivers have made up a couple positions in the first couple laps there, making their way now up to 9th and 10th. Oh, and look at this side by side coming through. Great move there by Sturgios as he comes right across the nose of Start to take over 9th position.
Oh, and, Alex Ellis is at a moment.
Yeah, and there we go. And is that, I'm sorry, who was that?
That was Alex Ellis.
Ellis that went off. Let's take a look at the replay here.
I wonder if he tapped the brake, if he just got caught on the grass. No, well, either that was contact with the number 219. Yes, there was contact.
Yeah, it looks like he came down on the 28 machine and ended up putting the car around, and you can see there a little bit of trouble rejoining from the infield. As we jump back here with as Sturgios makes his way back onto the oval, coming out of turn number 6.
Just got to make sure as well that, like, having a bit of breakaway here is never it's not necessarily a bad thing, is it? But at the same time, you always want to make sure, as we're going to bring up the pro and the pro and the AM category leaders at the moment. Brunner, Tenorio, and Martinez currently are your 3 class leaders. I think at the moment, Sean Ryan, though, is going to have a bit of a ding-dong with James Pearce. And you know what? I think that's going to be a move done and dusted. Yes, it is. But James Pearce is fighting back already. The Porsche does not want to give it up too soon. He tries to have a bit of a lunge. But you know what? I think Sean Ryan has got that move done and dusted. Good move there for P6 in the Pro class.
Yeah, that was a great move by the BMW, getting around the 2 teammates in the Porsches just behind. So move Sean Ryan now up into 6th. He started 5th, so still trying to make his way back. But again, long way to go as we jump back now. This is Nick Belmont, and he puts the car around there in the Ferrari. And currently now running at the tail end of the pro field, running 15th. Let's take a look here as the 31 machine. This is Mark Sigelkow, who is now sitting 19th in the Pro-Am field, having some problems there at the bus stop as well.
Not ideal, especially cold tyres still probably settling in here. I wonder, looking back at this battle here, is James Pearce going to have another look? The Porsche we know is quick in a straight line. Unfortunately, I was going to say the McLaren isn't all that fast in a straight line. A few people were complaining and a few people were talking about this earlier on, although they are sitting currently P1, P2 and P3 in the pro category. So it doesn't seem to be affecting them all that much at the moment, I have noticed. But I wonder, as we're going to dive back going into turn 1 to Justin Brunner versus Sean Campbell. They're going to go side by side. McLaren versus McLaren. Who is it going to be? Sean Campbell has got the outside at the moment. Is he going to be able to carry it? Look at Nathan Olsen, though. He's only about a tenth behind. They're going to go possibly through. I thought they were going to go through one into turn 1. That was a brave move.
It was very brave as they dropped now down into turn 1. Oh, and they have to avoid another car. I think that was Joseph Smith. In the Pro-Am category, the 55 machine, who had gone around just ahead of our leaders. And good thing they weren't 3 wide going down into turn 1, because that could have all turned to tears. Let's take a look at a replay here. And there is indeed the 55 machine going through the bus stop.
Oh, it was Dan Hayes. It was Dan Hayes. That would be why. Let's have a look at this. Was it Dan Hayes? I can't quite actually see. There we go. Yep, there's the spin around. And I think just gets caught out a little bit. Oh, no. Okay, interesting. Nope. Couldn't quite see who that was. We're not too sure. We are not too sure. Brian Voll's having a moment there as well. Yeah, bit of a mystery one, that, to be fair. We are seeing a few more cars jumping in the pit. We're seeing a lot of cars jumping in the pits, actually. So something clearly has happened, although the event tracker is not telling me all that much. At the front, though, David Menino is continuing in the number 43. Again, McLaren versus McLaren versus McLaren. The person I'd be most interested to keep an eye out for is Nathan Olsen, because he's got front row seats to this, hasn't he, Greg?
Yeah, he does. He's been sitting back and watching, and and again, he had just a lap ago that opportunity to really make things complicated for our McLarens up at the top of the field there to go and try and force the issue. But he's going to sit back, just work the draft as they come now down and across the start-finish line here, and you can see using the draft goes right around our third place runner to move up into, I believe, into third.
Indeed, he goes. Nathan Olsen, great move.
Yeah, and so he's going to drop right now behind Justin Brunner and Dave Menino as our former leader dropped down into the pits, I believe. It looks like no, I'm sorry, that was Andrew Hewitt. Who went down into the pits. Here, let's take a look. Yeah, I believe, and the majority of the drivers that took to the pit lane early, I believe, were from the AM class, the amateur category. And it looks like one driver did it, and everybody followed right along here, but nobody from the pros or from the pro-ams have dropped into the pit lane as of yet.
No, I think at the moment you've got to make sure that you're not pitting too early. We've spoken about this before, obviously, and
yes.
Pitting as late as you possibly can is good. Again, exactly why I'd be in a position. Something's happened there, and I think Nathan Olsen has actually just passed Justin Brunner. So I wonder what has happened there. We're going to get we also have that is Pj Sturgios has just overtaken Sean Ryan as well. So a couple of replays to have a look at regarding overtaking. Let's have a look at what Nathan Olsen did. Again, that is commitment going through into the bus stop. Yeah, is it going to be made? Yes, it is. Not much of a defense.
Yeah, and he drops to the inside right on entrance to the bus stop to get around the number 2 machine of Brunner. And so he picks up another position in the course of a lap. He's moved from 4th into 2nd, and he's only a couple tenths back from our leader, Nate Olsen, at the moment. Or pardon me, Nate Olsen now moving up to the lead. Pardon me.
God, wow, Nathan! I'll tell you, we're gonna have to get a lot of replays here because Nathan Olsen is he's doing everything off screen, so we have to get that back. Pj Sturgios made the carbon copy move on what Nathan Olsen did going into the bus stop. So obviously saw what Olsen did. I thought I'll have a piece of that, and off he goes. Let's have an hour look. We're going to be playing this entire race now in replays, aren't we? What did Nathan Olsen? Is he committed? He isn't. He committed round the outside of number 39, and again, interestingly. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, did you see the number 77 car once again? The green Lamborghini sitting to the inside there, just as they were dropping down dropping in off the oval, going down into turn 1. But yeah, so that moves Olsen up to the lead there. A lot of commitment for him, making up 3 positions in the course of 2 laps. As we drop a little bit further back right now, looking at that purple and yellow Audi of Andrew Rasmussen, the number 10 machine, and he's also making up a little bit of ground. He's made up 2 positions from the start, right back behind Alejandro Yaramillo and Joey Stratz just ahead of him. But very tight racing here in the Pro-Am category right now. That is the battle for 12th.
Yeah, battle for P12, as you say, starting. It's getting closer and it's continuing to stay. I have noticed as well, Joey Stats is in a Ford GT. I tip my hat off to you, sir. The only Ford GT that I can actually see on the grid. And it's nice to see it being represented yet again. I'm having a look. I think the majority, again, are Lamborghinis. Looking at the field here. But it's great to see the fact that we have got a Ford in there. There is the Ford. Actually, unfortunately, it might just be past possibly what Alejandro Jaramillo going into the boss. That's commitment from Jaramillo. Oh. He's going to do it. Oh, what a move. Fair play indeed. Wowzer. That was a cracking move. I think, unfortunately, the Ford seems to be a little bit gearing limited. It just seems to struggle a little bit on the straights. Possibly could it... I don't know, Greg. Could it be the fact that it's a slightly older car compared to its younger brothers?
That body style, absolutely, as opposed to the newer GT40 body styles, quite. I would consider the Aero to probably be very similar to the Audi. As well, and you notice that as going into the wall there is the number 62 machine. That was Wilson Brewer. He was up in I believe sitting about mid-pack in the Pro-Am when he impacted the wall coming out of the bus stop there, and he's going to drop back. But going back to this battle that we see here,
Yaramillo with a spin.
And as Yaramillo goes around, that is going to move the Ford GT of Stats up, and he is now sitting in 11th position. And what I was going to say was, I think aero-wise, both the Ford and the Audi very, very similar. And you saw as the previous lap, as they both came out of the bus stop, they both had similar acceleration there, as it looks like we've got one driver who's decided that maybe the bus stop isn't for him tonight. That is the 65 of Jackson Start, who straight-lined it. I don't know if he's going to receive a penalty for that or not. But the cars that trailed him in have gone on by as we jump just ahead and look at the battle right now between Lyden Lee and James Costa.
I just want to have a look at that overtake again because, I mean, Lyden Lee, let's have a look at this because the amount, look at the squeeze through there. Now, this is the thing that people forget, actually, isn't it, Greg? Because you don't necessarily, he does go a little bit wide, which does compromise him, but unfortunately, James Costa doesn't really have anywhere to go, so he has to just sort of sit there and take it. At the moment, though, Frederic Lavoie just having a look up the inside, though, of Blake Scott, so that could be a move that's going to be made from Lavoie. He's going to have to be committed going through. Apologies, no, that's Blake Scott trying to get the move. Oh, no, he takes out. Oh, no. That is...
Oh, and it looks like... Yeah, oh my, yes.
That was Frederic Lavoie. That was Sammy Lackey, I think, got involved. No, Sammy Lackey, that was a separate incident. Not good either way. Couldn't quite see who that was, so we're going to see if I can get a replay of that. Coming up. That was a bit of a shame.
You could see where he came down from the outside, did not get the binders on quite enough. Rear end steps wide on him and comes right across, taps the number 5. The 5 machine, just a bystander in that incident. That was, you said it, that was Sam Lackey in the number 5 entry, and that's going to drop him back considerably.
A bit of a shame. Bit of a shame that it's something that's very easily done, especially at somewhere like Daytona. Sean Campbell having dropped a little bit further down. I don't know what happened to Sean Campbell, actually. Got caught up in possibly an earlier incident somewhere that we couldn't quite see. Nothing that we can see on the replay, so something we'll maybe have to chat with... sorry, I'm looking at Sean Ryan, not Sean Campbell, because Sean... Oh, no, I am looking at Sean Campbell. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. What on earth am I doing? Just going back to my original point there, Greg. Now... Yes. A lot of people, I think, don't realise as well that you don't necessarily, if you're trying to make a move and you're trying to go, you don't have to at any point. We've actually just got a yellow flag, I think, has been thrown. We have indeed. Yellow flags have been thrown. We can see in the top left-hand corner of your screen. So that's why no overtaking is currently happening. But I wonder why the yellow flag has been thrown. interesting times. I will have to. We'll have to see if we can get some information from race control. But I don't really know. Anyway, that will give us a bit of breathing room, I think, won't it, for the next couple of laps. Yeah, when you're racing, you don't necessarily have to yield room. You don't have to move back to your racing line if you're on the outside. No. And exactly what happened there, the driver on the outside, you keep that nice tight line on the inside. The person on the inside, well, they can't go anywhere. They can't take their normal racing line. So you're not doing anything illegal because it's just something that isn't widely used.
Exactly. You are going and maximizing your entry, and you are essentially controlling when that other driver can drop down into a corner. And if you want, and I mean, it's always a great position to be in, that if they cannot turn in until you do, essentially, that they also will have compromised entry speed and, more importantly, compromised exit speed from that corner as well. You're going to be compromising your speed just a little bit as well, obviously, as part of that maneuver. But unless you have a third car trailing right behind you, you're certainly going to be in a better position than the person that you went in side by side with.
Yes, very true. Like I said, the more you can put yourself in a position, the more you can put yourself in control of the race, the better. The control is so key, so key here.
All right, and so we see that the pace car, the safety car, does have the field, and we're still trying to get a little word on what might have precipitated the full course caution here. Guarantee you, it is not a NASCAR competition yellow, as we may have seen last weekend at Daytona International Raceway for the Coke 0400, where Ryan Blaney took the win. Let's take a look here as we're on board right now with the number 50 machine of Andy Hewitt. Or probably that's the 20. I'm sorry, the 21 is Andy Hewitt.
So this was an incident. Whether this was actually thrown because, and this was the cause of the yellow, I'm not 100% sure. We're going to have to see. I'm guessing it's just going to be a rear rotation on the brakes. There goes the rear, and that's going to be carrying a fair amount of pace on the way in. Manages to actually keep it all in check, though, to be honest. And then, obviously, the Sami Laki incident a little bit earlier on. A little bit after that. So I wonder again if we're going to be able to see. Oh no, yes. So there's the Sami Laki. There's Sami Laki rejoining the race and rejoining the track. Again, I think there may have been just a few too many incidents around the circuit which caused the yellow flag to be thrown. And again, we want to make sure that we're keeping everyone nice and clean. We're keeping everything in check. It also allows people as well, if they're in a position where they have got significant damage, they can jump into the pits, get everything repaired, and they can still come out within that fighting chance. We've only 20 minutes through this race, remember, so we have got a fair way to go. One mandatory pit stop, which a few of these drivers already have. Pj Sturgios, Sean Ryan, Sean Campbell, Derek Ekmanis, Alex S. They've all come into the pits. As we can see, they're all just exiting the pits now. So this is a crucial thing for these guys because they won't technically have to make another pit stop. So this is them now going right to the very end. Exactly when you want to pit. You want to pit under a safety car if you can. In theory, everyone should be coming into the pits. Everyone.
Exactly. You go in under the safety car. You hopefully don't lose a lap. You don't go a lap down. You may have to start making your way back through traffic, but certainly it is the most advantageous time, as it looks like is that the number 62 car that these drivers are all heading around here on course. It looks like the 62 might be a little bit off pace. The McLaren.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Where is the number 62? The number 62.
Well, it should be quite a bit further back. I saw three. As a matter of fact, just now coming through the corner, I saw looked like coming out of the hairpin there. It looked like 3 or 4 cars had all passed it by. So we'll have to see here as we check in right now. Let's run down the order here. Currently, your leader in the Pro Class and overall is Nathan Olson in the number 39 Lamborghini, with Dave Menino in the number 43 McLaren running second. James Pearson is Porsche running in third overall. Fourth overall right now, he's your leader in Pro-Am. It is Alex Streeba in the number 50 machine. Then we've got Ryan Koprowski, Casey Metzger. Metzger currently running second in Pro-Am, then Dan Tenorio, John Cooper, Blake Scott and Andrew Rasmussen all in Pro-Am. If we drop a little bit further through the field, we can see that Justin Brunner, pardon me, I'm sorry, that Errol Yerkskoy is your current leader in the AM category, in the number 13 Lamborghini, with Michael Fowler in the Audi right behind him. That's the number 54 machine. 2 cars back from there is Pj Steffi, currently running third in the class in his Porsche, and then quite a ways back till we get to the number 20. Pardon me, McLaren of Dan Floria. Floria currently running 18th overall, but looks like he's also made up. And again, we've had so many cars drop into the pits right now, so going and looking at the number of positions made up, perhaps not the most accurate of indicators here as to how somebody's race is going, but at the moment he has made up 34 positions.
34 positions. I mean, can't really complain with that, can you? I was actually, I was coaching Daniel Floria a little bit a few hours ago. Do you know what? We're actually going to go for the restart. The restart's already kicking off and it's already underway. We got caught a little bit napping there, I think. 22 minutes have now gone within this race. Nathan Olsen takes a nice commanding lead straight out of the gates because he's already got half a second on the rest of the field. Everyone seems to get through cleanly for the moment, but we've still got, obviously, a long way to go. We've still got a lot of cars coming through the remainder. Look at the train of cars going through. Look at the blimp cam. It's just a sea of cars everywhere as it all checks up going into turn 4.
That's right, as we've got almost 60-plus cars, and as opposed to the start, where we had each one of our 3 categories segmented out, here they're all going down on this lap, all nose to tail or side by side, as Olsen continues to hold on to his position with Menino. Looks like James Pierce in the Porsche has managed to get back around Alex Streeba, so move Pierce now up to 3rd overall, 3rd in the Pro class. Drop Streeba now back into the 4th position, but you can see here lots of congestion trying to come out of turn number 6 back onto the oval as they come through, as we're on board right now with Michael. You can see there Michael Fowler in the Audi on the outside there, the number 54 machine, and he's got Tyler Campbell, who was our winner in the Pro-Am last week at Imola, gets by him. Then looks like Harry Wills in the Mercedes side by side as they come now into the bus stop, and looks like Wills is going to take the position there away from Fowler. Frederick Lavoie just a little bit further back in the number 33 BMW. But you also notice here that the Audi taking a much higher line around, and I've noticed this with also Koprowski early on, taking much higher lines through the oval and then dropping down, as opposed to trying to minimize the distance carried by staying on that lower groove.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure why. Oh my goodness, big accident there. Who was that? That was Frederick Lavoie again. Did he get caught up? Did he lose the rear again going through? Do you know what? I think he threaded the needle through there. I generally can't believe how we didn't hit anyone. That was absolutely astounding. That's going to be Michael Kalaga is making a move up the inside, and that is Carl Hurlitzky. He goes through and a position is made through there. Oh my goodness, we need a replay of that.
Absolutely we do, and believe me, slow motion would not do that justice at the speed that he went through there and spun through and didn't touch a thing or a car. Was absolutely astounding there.
I just how? I really don't understand. I really don't understand how that is genuinely possible, especially when you saw the amount of cars that were going through.
Yes.
That was just
and it looked like almost none of those cars checked up, because I don't think anybody knew that he was coming through. There, it was pretty amazing. All right, we're on board right now with Dan Tenorio and Casey Metzger. Metzger on the outside in the number 3 machine. He's going to drop down behind Tenorio try to take the draft now as they make their way and head down. I believe they should be coming up towards the bus stop, and you can see drafting right up behind is Casey Metzger. Metzger now moving all the way to the outside, and given the run that Metzger had earlier that made his way all the way up to the front of the pack, it looks like he's looking for repeat business there as they come down through turn 1 and through the little kink at turn number 2, heading down towards the international horseshoe. And I'm not exactly sure how the number 3 car ended up back there. We haven't had Metzger head into the pits as of yet. Again, he was just before the full course caution, had actually moved up to the lead, but looks like he's now fallen back in the 7th position.
Yeah, falling back just a little bit. Let's say a few more replays to come in a few moments' time. Let's have a look at what happened to John Casey. So this is the number 78 for 046 Racing. Is it going to be just a rotation under the brakes? Actually, might even tag the grass on the inside. Yep, there we go. Tag the grass on the inside.
And then tag the wall.
Yeah, not ideal. Definitely not what you want to see, especially, obviously, that early in the restart. Incidents happened early on for John Casey, so that's going to be causing him even more pain, even more damage. So realistically, I think this is not going to be John Casey's race. Travis Kepler has just had a moment that we've just been told as well. There he is rejoining. That's coming on to the that's on the oval section, so we won't be able to get a replay of that in a few moments. But meanwhile, Tyler Campbell's also now had a bit of an off. What's gone on here? Oh, that's a big shunt. Ooh, steering is gone, I reckon. Yep, steering's completely gone.
Yeah, look, you can see he's testing out the steering in that Porsche 911, but that car is seriously hurt. Let's take a look as he came down into the bus stop. And does he just get the exit wrong? Pops over the curbing. Ooh. And looks like just could not get the nose set, could not get it rotated, and into the wall. Tyler Campbell goes. Looks like his night likely is now done.
Unfortunately, it is. Harry Wills is currently, he's making up a few positions. Unfortunately, he has lost 8 positions, but he is making up some more. He's back on a charge at the moment, so we'll see how that develops as he goes through. There's a bit of a battle here from P6 to P10 within the pro categories. Currently around here, this train being led by Pj Sturgios, as you can just see ahead in the BMW, currently riding on board with Alex Ellis. And he's a second behind PJ, who is only about 4 tenths away from Blake Scott. So he will be capitalising and trying to push past the Pro-Am drivers at the moment. But one thing that Ellis has to look out for if he looks behind is the 2 McLarens, Justin Brunner and Sean Campbell. I know that the gearing, we've been told in the chat as well, the gearing is what's causing the McLarens to be a little bit slower on pace, but it doesn't seem to be affecting them all that much at the moment.
Yeah, I would expect that if they can keep up the draft, if they can stay nose to tail, it might overcome some of those gearing issues as 2 cars working together, probably better than 1 all by itself. Speaking of cars working together, you could take a look at this Lamborghini train with the one outsider, the BMW trailing along behind. That is, I believe we've got Metzger, Tenorio, Cooper, Scott, and then Pj Sturgios in his BMW, the trailing car. And it looks like Sturgios is going to try to jump in underneath Scott. He gets it done as we have John Cooper, we saw as part of that sequence, drop down into the pit lane for his first pit stop this evening.
Pit stops coming in, seeming to be, like I said again, it probably would have been wise for most of these drivers to pit under the safety car, again, to lose as minimal time as possible. Again, though, people may have some different tactics. I could very well be wrong, obviously, on that fact. So people may think that they've got a slightly different strategy. In my personal experience, it's always been preferred, and it's always been the preferred way if you can pit as late as possible and pit under any safety car conditions that come up, because they are rare and few and far between within sim racing. Oh, guys, Kyle Fredrickson has had a big moment going through. Do you know what? So is Don Hunter, Jackson Starrett as well. Let's have a look at what happened here. I wonder what happened here, actually. Don Hunter, does he get tagged, possibly going into...
I was just going to say, it looked like he might have gotten tagged coming through the horseshoe. Yep. Indeed, he does. Comes down right across the nose of the trailing car, and the number 4 goes around.
And that was actually Jackson Starrett, the one that tagged. No Jackson Starrett for a while. Good, really, really good person. Good person to race with Has raced. I've seen him racing championships before, and he definitely knows his stuff. So an unfortunate little error there from Jackson Starrett. Obviously, no intention to do that, of course. But speaking of which, though, Jackson Starrett is now making a move on Steven Martinez, so he's already moving up the field. He has lost 15 positions, though. Not ideal, but there is still plenty of time to go. James Pearce, Nathan Olson finally jump into the pits. So I wonder when they're going to come out, because Dave Medano, Alex Streeba, Ryan Koprowski, neither of those, so all of those three haven't come into the pit. Similarly, Casey Metzger, Daniel Tenorio, Blake Scott, Andrew Rasmussen, they're all coming into the pits now. So this is, like I said, it's interesting. You can see actually the Pro-Am category in the class overlay there changing quite drastically as everyone now dives into the pits. It might change a couple more times as well that we're going to see. I am intrigued. I'm looking forward to chatting with a couple of these drivers after the race, just to see what their sort of thoughts were after the safety car, because it's an interesting one, isn't it? Like I could very well be wrong in terms of, but it just seems to be that's the pace that that's the strategy I would normally take.
All right, so let's take a look now. We've got the 44 and the 55. The 44 of Nick Belmont in his Ferrari, and Joseph Smith gets around him in the Lamborghini. Not done yet, going down into the horseshoe. The Lamborghini with the inside position, and looks like he's going to be able to hold off the 44 machine of Belmont there. Yeah, you know, as we're watching this again, it was a big surprise that we did not have the folks at the very front of the field, right behind the safety car, drop into the pit lane during that extended full course caution. But the other thing that we're seeing, and it was very similar at Imola last week, is that it's essentially one driver, perhaps at the front end of a group of 4 or 5. When he makes the decision to head down into the pit lane, he's bringing another 4 or 5 cars along with them. That you don't see these drivers trying to take advantage of maybe track position, try to put in a couple of flying laps here. And they're essentially just trying to work off of what the car ahead of them did. Maybe if they can short fill a little bit on fuel, maybe if they don't have to take tires, they can make up a little bit of ground in the pits. But it's certainly not a strategy to win a race on the track.
No, you've got to be sensible. You've got to be cautious and careful when it comes to like strategies, and you know, certain strategies work in different phases, and you've got to make sure that you can recognize where those strategies are going to be. I think at the moment, you know, fuel saving is so key. A position that could very well be made could very well be lost later on in the race. So that's I'm always an advocate of a big and a heavy amount of fuel saving. I always find it really does help. This is a position as well. I believe Steve Martinez just getting past. Actually, no, apologies. That was Joseph Smith getting ahead of Nicholas Belmont by the looks. And again,
yeah,
lots
fact,
of overtaking.
I think that we saw them just one lap ago in that exact same position as they were side by side coming off the oval, going into the International Horseshoe. And it looks like that battle hasn't given up as we jump now a little bit further back to some of our Pro-Am drivers that have just come out of the pits. And we're on board right now. We've got Blake Scott and I believe John Cooper side by side now as they come down, making the run down over towards turn 5. And they're going to come up on that. They're going to come up on the McLaren. I think that's a Floria that they're coming up on right now.
It may very well be. We'll see if we can get a behind a rear shot, the gearbox shot. Oh, it's going to get. Actually, do you know what? I don't think we're going to have time to worry. The number 21. That was actually Andrew. That is Andrew Hewitt's car.
Yeah.
So he is getting out of the way of the guys up the front. Let's say Blake Scott, John Cooper, and Andrew Rasmussen. Let's have a look on board from Rasmussen's point of view. Again, front row seats to what's going to happen ahead. It's going to be John Cooper versus Blake Scott. Who is going to come out on top? But you know what? It's actually going to be very close. Last of the late breakers, and it's going to be Blake Scott that goes in. Lamborghini versus Lamborghini. It's not done yet, though. Role reversal this time. Blake Scott is now on the back foot because John Cooper's got a better run straight away. So is Andrew Rasmussen. Don't forget this Audi. Bear in mind, pretty much the same car. You look at it, different bodywork, same car, pretty much. They're going to be even Stevens coming down. The person that's now going to be benefiting massively is that Audi because he's got a double draft, essentially. He can pick and choose. He can pick whichever one he wants to. He might even try and bump draft. That's going to be, he might even try to bump draft Blake Scott down, John Cooper down into turn 1. Decides against it, though. And again, backs out. Wonder if he is saving fuel. Interesting one to keep an eye on through here. So no change at the moment.
Exactly. As you were talking about saving fuel, especially here at Daytona, where these cars do spend so much time under full throttle conditions, to be able to sit back behind two cars that are putting such a big hole in the wind for you, I mean, that's certainly the opportunity for you to do quite a bit of fuel savings, to lay out of the throttle just a little bit, but still maintain that pace and not lose track of the two cars ahead of you. And he may just be very content to follow through with that plan for a couple more laps, and perhaps as the drivers will have to come in for a second pit stop a little bit later on tonight, it may be to his advantage.
Yeah, I said it may come around. This sort of later or this earlier pit stop may be coming around, or people that are pitting again after the even people pitting in that safety car. Maybe they know something, the people that didn't pit, they know something that we don't, because they might not be too confident in the car actually making it to the end of the fuel stint. A little bit further down the field though, Casey Metzger and Travis Kepler are going to have a bit of a battle. There's out of class though, so we've got Casey Metzger in the Pro-Am, Travis Kepler in the Pro. But one battle that is actually raging on is Alex Streeba versus James Pierce. James Pierce has got a little bit wide, but he is cutting back down now. So this is where he starts to gain a little bit of pace going into turn one. Is there going to be a lunge from the Porsche? We know how good the Porsche is on the brakes. No, backs out of it. Alex Streeba does go what looks to be a little bit wide, and he does indeed. That's going to cost him a little bit of time there. Oh, if anything, actually, no, he's gained time. James Pierce has actually dropped to 10th and a half.
Yeah, it was interesting there to watch Pierce, because it looked as though he had gotten out of the throttle, gotten onto the brakes much earlier than the leading car, and for a moment there, I thought he was going to try and make a late lunge to get into the pit lane. He did not do that. However, but as you said, sometimes, as they say, slow in, fast out. He carried a lot more speed coming out of turn one to pull up right behind that other car. As we jump back over now to the battle that seems to never end here between Nicholas Belmont and Joe Smith. The difference is that black Ferrari of Belmont now, he has gotten around the 55 of Smith, and it looks like this Smith may have had some issues getting out back onto the oval, as he has now dropped about 6 positions, Daniel, and we've got Eric Kulaga and Forkolb now right behind Belmont.
Yeah, but we're just going to have a sit on board just to see, or stay with Belmont a little bit for the moment, just to see what he is able to do at the moment. On his lonesome a bit now, like I said, it's 7.5 seconds the gap, and Kulaga is about 5.6 seconds behind. So I think, yeah, realistically, there's just a little bit of momentary, like I said, no man's land for Belmont at the moment. I think Frederic Lavoie has just lost out on a position. He has indeed, to Michael Kulaga. So again, that'll be something that I'm sure he'll be wanting to try and make the position back as soon as possible. But again, you've got to make sure you're cautious, you're careful. You don't want to jump into the brakes too much. We've seen Lavoie, he probably would have lost a bit of confidence going through. And that will take a little bit of time to regain. It's something that you don't regain that easily, and it does take a little bit of time, especially on the brakes, because one of the most crucial parts. If anything, what I'd probably do if I was Navarro in this stage, I would move the brake bias a couple of clicks forward just to give myself a bit more stability to start with, and then you can start pulling it back. That's my sense anyway. I don't know whether that would be something that whether I'm just that, but that would be from a perspective to try and give yourself a bit more stability. It's one of the things I would definitely look at doing.
So interesting that you should talk a little bit about the brake bias. So one of the things iRacing actually announced today is that their Season 4 updates, they're going to be making some significant tire changes, I think, across most of the GT3 field. And those changes are going to be going into play next Wednesday morning. So just a couple of hours before our next outing next week at Spa-Francorchamps. And I think it's certainly going to be interesting and a challenge for these drivers to come to grips, so to say, with the different tire modeling, and how their setups may have to be altered under race pace compared to what they've now been working on for a couple of weeks, and really only have most likely that hour-and-a-half session before the race in order to do their testing. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And apparently, grip levels are going to be different, but also wear levels on these tires are going to be very different as well starting next week. So we'll have to watch that. That could certainly throw a big monkey wrench into some of these racers' plans as they set up for, again, our race next week at Spa. Hopefully it'll be dry there and it won't rain and we'll get more than 2 laps under green flag conditions. All right, nice. Let's jump back over now as we had cars 3 wide coming down into turn 1, and what was the surprise that wasn't going to work as the number 3 machine goes around. Let's see who else was involved with that, but not a great outcome there.
No, it's something you don't want to see already. So Casey Metzger and Blake Scott, they were the 2 people that came together. Yeah, again, 3 cars don't go into 1 space, as we all know. But at the same time, it's something where sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to judge in certain scenarios. It's a tricky corner at the best of times. Again, unfortunate, but something I would say we've got plenty of time. We haven't really. You look at the time, we've only got half an hour left, 38 minutes left to go, or 33 minutes left to go. There's not too long now. You've got to make sure that in this final third of the race, you've just got to be cautious and careful. Jeremy Full, that is Volkolb with Ryan Koprowski, Audi versus McLaren. This is a battle here as well. Daniel Tenorio trying to maintain a position. He's actually passed Joseph Smith, apologies. So that is Daniel Tenorio up into P7 in class for at this moment in time. I wonder if you can make any more positions. P6, a little bit further ahead, around about 10 seconds. Maybe a little bit more than that, actually. So I wonder if there's going to be any more positions to be made up. Again, let's not say anything just yet. We know that Tenorio has got some good pace. We'll have to see if he is able to catch up with Eric Kalaga, currently just going through turn 4 now.
All right, so sitting up at the top of the field right now, Pj Sturgios, and I was honestly a little surprised there, although, he was the fastest driver in practice today. He started off towards the tail end of the pro field, and again, he's now sitting up in the catbird seat, our leader in the BMW M4 with Alex Ellis, and two of the three McLarens that jetted off to such a quick start. They're still sitting there. Just Sean Campbell sitting in the last spot on the podium right now with Justin Brunner right behind. And of course, the third car in that trio did not fare so well, dropping back through the field. That was Dave Meneno. He is currently sitting 22nd overall, trying to make his way back up through the field here as well. I'm also checking to see, it looks like Casey Metzger is, of course, he just had that incident. He is in now for his second pit stop, and as we saw with the first round of pit stops, I think a lot of the AM category, the amateurs, are starting to make their way in for their second pit stops here, trying to make their way to the very end of the race, as we are just about halfway through.
Yep, as you say, halfway through is, well, let's say we're more than halfway through now. We have got half an hour left to go, so getting on for that final third. And this is where your balance starts shifting in the race as well. You've got to think about that. Nicholas Belmont going up the inside of Alex Streeba. Oh, that was very, very close indeed between the two. But ultimately, Belmont manages to... Belmont loses on that position to Alex Streeba. So that is a move done and dusted for Streeba. And off he goes. And I wonder if that is going to be... Actually, let's just have a quick look at that again. I just want to see as they go through. So... yeah, Nicholas Belmont, you can see, actually, I think it was Nicholas Belmont trying to go round the outside. Unfortunately, it was never going to work, I don't think, in a million years. Mercedes got great drive.
And he adjusted his exit there to carry as much speed as possible, as Streeba just stuck to the inside, kept the car pinned to the curbing here as we jump back over now to, looks like, is this Belmont in the... probably not
Sturgios and Ellis.
That's the Sturgios. This is the battle for the lead right now. The 57 BMW, with Alex Ellis, Sean Campbell all in a row, and it looks like we've got our 4th place car as well, Justin Brunner, in that battle. So after 45 minutes here, a very tight battle for the lead as they make their way down over towards turn 5.
They're still going at it. This is where it now starts to shift. Now you're past that halfway point. Okay, what you've got to do now is you've got to, put yourself in a position where you think, well, your risk versus reward starts to increase here. You start to look at taking a few more risks wherever you can. And I think this is now what we're starting to see. Like, so Pj Sturgios, you've got Ellis as well, Sean Campbell there, and Justin Brunner. So BMW, Porsche, McLaren. And I think you are in a position where, are the risk worth it? I believe they are, because Ellis is going to decide. Well, it's decided that they are indeed. He goes up the inside of the bus stop. Good move there from Ellis. Decisive, controlled, exactly where it needed to go, exactly where he needed to put that car. And ultimately, he's now got that position over Sturgios. Can he now start to pull away? Currently riding on board now with Sturgios, and you can see the slipstream already taking in effect. It may have actually been worth possibly for Ellis to make the move going into turn 1, although Sturgios doesn't seem to be catching up.
But he may certainly be laying back on the throttle, again, trying to do a little bit of fuel savings, and perhaps perhaps if he can underfill the car a little bit in the pits, perhaps try to leapfrog Alex Ellis that way when both of those drivers go in for their second and final pit stops. So something to think about there. But you're right. As Ellis came underneath Sturgios, he showed the nose early. Sturgios, I think, knew what was going to happen, and more importantly, didn't contest it at all, because we still do have a lot of time remaining here. Let's jump on board now with Steve Martinez in the number 53 Lamborghini, that red, white, and blue machine with Eric Kulaga just ahead of him. That is not a battle in class, as Martinez currently is your leader in the AM category, and he's got Eric Kulaga currently running in 6th in the Pro-Am, directly ahead of him. Now, not all that far back from Martinez, though, in that shot, Kyle Hurlitzky, there he is right there in the, I think that was him in the number 98 machine. He's starting to make up a little bit of ground on Martinez.
He is indeed. Yes, you can just see the number 20 that's directly behind. That isn't him. That isn't him. That is instead, if I were to have a quick look at who that is the number 20 of, I can't quite see, Daniel Floria. You can see, actually, that's not Daniel Floria, because that's Lamborghini that's directly behind. And that is not a Lamborghini. Daniel Floria is in a McLaren. But ultimately, I think... Do you know what that is? Sorry, apologies. Yeah, that is. I don't know what I was seeing there. The number 99 compared to the number 20. 99. Don't know what I was seeing there. That is Carl Hurlitzky. Like I said,
yeah.
9/10 of a second.
In class.
Yeah, 9/10 of a second when I first looked. It's now down to 4/10 of a second. It's going to be considerably less as they both now go through, going down the oval for this time around. Like I said, the slipstream just about taking into effect. It's just there or thereabouts. The gap is 0.3 of a second coming down to 2. I reckon that Hurlitzky is going to make a move going into turn 1. I reckon he will do. If he can get the run on him, there's no reason why he wouldn't do.
Yeah, and you can see a little bit later on the brakes going into the bus stop made up a little bit more ground as well. I think if he can make up maybe another couple car lengths here under the draft, and you can see he's just at the tail end of the draft here. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough going into turn 1 this time. He drops down to the inside, and not quite there, but well, we'll see what happens as both of those drivers now. Did they just head into the pits? They did.
Both did,
yes. He'll make up a lot of ground now. Unfortunately, it's only going to be at a maximum of 55 miles per hour as they go down the pit lane into their pit stalls. Hey, real quick, Daniel, I wanted to mention we've got 2 drivers that are not joining us here tonight that did very well at Imola. We've got Matthew Plaisance, who finished 7th in the amateur category in his Porsche 911. We've also missing tonight Brent Bravata, who finished 3rd in the Pro-Am in his Porsche 911. Both of those drivers, they live down in the Gulf area of the United States, down, I believe, Matthew is down in Louisiana, and I think Brent might be in Mississippi. Both of them have been severely affected by this week's storm, Hurricane Ida, that came through. And it was interesting. They were both practicing last night, tethering off their cell phones to get network connectivity. And they've got generators at the house, but apparently both of their neighborhoods have experienced some severe damage. And so we certainly wish the best for them, and hopefully we'll see them in the weeks to come.
Yes, we do, absolutely. Like I said, definitely something that is not a particularly pleasant experience. I can imagine. Again, I can't believe something like that as well. It doesn't. For someone over in the UK, that sort of thing that happens there doesn't quite compute with myself, I think, to be fair. So yes, we do hope that they're all back up and running very, very soon, and hope all is as well as can be. Very, very well put there, Greg, indeed. Back to the racing. Dave Menino is having a good old ding-dong with, that is Ryan Koprowski. 4/10 of a gap is the battle. Well, actually, no, 3/10 of it now is the battle between Dave and Ryan. It's dropped even less. It's now going to be 2/10. Dave is proving me wrong consistently here. Let's ride on board with Dave, and we will see the SRT Esports number 43. Look at the wide line he takes as well. This is position for class as well, bear in mind.
Yes, it is. Very late apex there. Carries a lot of speed through the corner. By the way, as we watch this, I should mention Michael Kulaga, who I believe was leading the Pro-Am class at the time, took to the pits. He is just now making his way back out. He should be done with his second pit cycle as we stay on board here with Dave Menino and Ryan Koprowski. Menino in the McLaren, Koprowski in the Audi, as this is again a battle for 6th overall here and 6th in the Pro class. As they drop down into the bus stop, and you can see here where Menino, he makes up some ground coming through the bus stop. He now is only about half a second, about 45 hundredths back from the Audi, as they make their way across the start-finish line here in just a moment, and there we go. As things straighten out, and they're going to drop down into turn 1 here momentarily.
Well, indeed. Just having a look. Look how this is again what we talk about, the McLaren struggling with gears. You can see as well the Audi, even though that Menino did have some slipstream on the back of that Audi, albeit not very much. That Koprowski was pulling away. He pulled away about 2 or 3 tenths of a second. So unless Menino in the 43 has got some damage, which it doesn't look like it, to be fair, Audi is just that. Like I said, this is where the problems come with the McLaren. Could very well be as well that the Audi is running a little bit less wing. That's also something to consider. Something definitely not to forget about. But at the same time, you know, it's just it really is something to be conscious of. Frederic Lavoie versus Joey Stats. Ford versus BMW, this time going through into turn 1. Frederic Lavoie manages to maintain that position, and that'll be why, because Joey Stats is letting some of the faster drivers through. Currently P7 overall in the Pro-Am category. Pro-Am. And I wonder if he's going to make up any more positions. I mean, Frederic Lavoie, you know, the rate that Lavoie was going to be is now already started pulling away. I wonder if that's going to be Joey Stats is going to be struggling to keep up. Maybe looking after tyres a little bit more. We'll have to see in these closing stages of the race, only with 20 minutes remaining, bear in mind. So he's going to have to do something very, very sharpish. And that does actually depend as well, if the car can take. I think there is some damage on the front. There is damage on the front left.
Yeah.
Yeah, damage front left, so that is going to be hurting. That will probably, that will be costing him a good couple of tenths a lap. So it's not too bad, doesn't look to be too bad, but any other track, it wouldn't make all that much of a difference, unless you were a track like Monza, for example. But someone like here, you know, compared to this, if you were going to go to somewhere like, I'd probably say something along the lines of Zandvoort or Zolder or Imola, something like that, wouldn't make too much of a difference. But someone like here really, really does.
Yeah, not only is it going to hurt in a front line, in a straight line there, certainly around the 2 horseshoes, the 2 hairpins, turn 3 and turn 5, as that front end gets loaded up, it's certainly not going to be helpful for handling either. As we have now jumping over now to take a look at the number 60 machine. That is Zach Gregory, the middle of the three cars there. He's got Errol Urexoy, who is our AM category leader, directly behind him. He's got Alex Streeba directly ahead. That battle with Streeba is a battle for position. Currently the battle for fifth in the Pro-Am category. And we'll see if he can close things up there. I'm sure he doesn't want Urexoy to get involved with that battle, but still a couple of car lengths back.
Yeah, just a couple of car lengths back. Wonder if he can try and make that up a little bit as he goes. Again, these diving stages of the race, more risks are going to be taken here, as we were saying. Speaking of which, Sean Campbell is being now pressured by Justin Brunner. Is there going to be a move? I don't think there will be this point. You actually see Justin Brunner. You see he was lifting out the throttle there because the gap has started to open up. I wonder if this is now going to be it. They've both made... So these drivers have both made 2 stops. Okay. So I wonder if Sean Campbell, as long as Justin Brunner can stay with him and stay within that sort of half a second margin, the last 2 laps is really where you're going to want to push. And those last 2 laps are going to be so crucial if you want to try and get in a position where you're going to make an overtake. You know, within that last lap, you need to be probably, I'd say, within about 0.2 of a second to then get the drag round the outside of the last corner. But you've got to time it right.
Exactly. And as we're getting down to a little bit less than 20 minutes here, you can see now our leader, Sean Campbell, flashing the headlights to let those drivers up ahead know that our leaders are coming through. But Sturgios and Ellis, they're not that far back. They're about 8-9 car lengths back, about 2 seconds back from the 2 lead McLarens there. And last time by, not quite running the pace of the 2 McLarens, about 0.2 off of their pace. So we'll have to keep watching them, see as the 2 McLarens have made their way and cycled their way back up to the lead, whether or not that BMW or the Porsche of Sturgios and Ellis have anything for the McLarens.
Yeah, let's just say they might do. We'll have to see. The gap is maintaining around that sort of 2 seconds. We're just going to see how that develops. John Cooper and Eric Kalaga are having a good battle here as they go through down into turn 6. Very, very long left-hander. You've got to be nice and patient on the throttle. John Cooper making up that position relatively easily.
And going around, and just as you say it, John Cooper goes around at the, looks like he looped it around there at turn 5. And we had the trailing car go right into his door, so that's going to affect both of those drivers. Let's take a look at the replay.
Well, this is first off the replay. Okay. This is Drew Neubauer first off. So this is the first replay again. Is it just tagging a little bit wide? Rear rotates. Oh, that was close. Manages. Wow.
Yeah, okay. just with our leaders and our 3rd and 4th place drivers sneaking right underneath as right as we had Campbell, Brunner, Sturgios, and Ellis coming through turns 1 and 2 as they came up right on the that car that had gone wide just a few seconds earlier.
A little bit twitching there, I can imagine that all of those the top 3 were, and for good reason, I think, to be perfectly honest, because I would be in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not what they expected to see there as we're back on with John Cooper. And let's jump a little further ahead, back up to the 4GT of Joey Stats, and he's got now Steven Martinez. Martinez for a time had been leading the AM category. He's currently sitting back in 4th, but he gets around the Ford. And now next in line, Jerry Forkholm, who's currently running 3rd in the AM category. He's trying to make his way around as well.
Yes, he is indeed. The one thing we have to check is to, again, make sure that, like I said, the positions that you've got to hear, obviously they're not, there's 3 different championships, bear in mind. You've got a separate championship for Pro-Am, and Am as well. So while racing is fantastic, it gives us a lot to commentate on for sure, you still want to make sure that you're not pushing the car and you're not making any sort of silly mistakes on other people as well. I've just noticed all of a sudden, now Harry Wills has made 3 pit stops, bear in mind. He's having a battle with Dave Menino, and I wonder if this is going to be a position gain. Can he get the cut back? No, I don't think he will. Actually, don't know what. He's going to give it a good old go, though. Oh, just about. He
tries to straighten out turn 2, and that Merc trying to sneak underneath Menino's McLaren and all over the back. And, so we'll see here as he rolls back behind the McLaren all the way through the infield here, Dennis, whether or not, pardon me, Dennis, I'm sorry, oh my gosh, Daniel, that's right. Everybody calls me Joe. As they come through here now, whether or not the straight line speed of the Merc, especially as the McLaren starts to have that gearing issue towards the start finish line, whether or not the Merc is going to be able to sneak by, maybe heading down towards the bus stop.
Well, the gap is 5 tenths per second. It's already starting to come down. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen, it's dipped into 4 tenths. So I think we're going to stay on board and see if we can get front row seats to any possible moves that are going to happen here. So that's 2 tenths out of the first section there, the first straight going into the bus stop. So
yeah, but he's right back on the back of the car coming down into the bus stop. Now they do have another driver up just ahead of them, and I think that's not Ellis ahead of him. I think that's a back marker car, but you can see now as Wills is taking the high line around the banking here, and he's going to try to drive right on by the McLaren as they head over towards turn 1. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough, but there you go. Menino, he drops down into the pits to take and Menino was our sole driver, I believe, in the pro category who had not taken a second pit stop. He is in there now, so he's going to drop through the field and pretty much gifts 5th place to Harry Wills.
Yes, exactly. A position that was fought a little bit, but ultimately, I think Harry Wills just seemed to have the pace at this moment in time. So, like you said, ultimately, pit stops, do play a factor into gaining and losing positions. But I think, to be fair, the pace that Harry had, it would have been possibly a matter of time before that move was made. James Pierce having a trying to get around the outside of Zachary Gregory, and that is a done and dusted move. Bear in mind, that is not a battle for position. That is a battle outside of classes, so that will be something that's done and dusted. This is a battle that's out for classes though, because look at this is the battle for the top step of the podium, the final step of the podium. Steffi currently in that all-important 3rd position in the Pro-Am in the Mercedes. Joey Stats getting caught up a little bit in the battle here. This is Jerry Fokolb that's going through. Apologies, that was a terrible pronunciation. I do apologise there, Jerry. From Donkey Bop Racing. What an interesting team name that is. There are some wacky team names here, and that is definitely up there. At the moment, though, I'm not going to make any form of jokes through there on that team name because I don't want to embarrass myself.
And I can't tell if that's a monkey on the side of the car either, but nice flame job on the hood.
Yes.
As Forekolb is trying to track down Steffi, as you mentioned, that is the battle for the last step on the podium in the AM category, and they've got looks like they've got Joseph Smith in his Lamborghini shortly ahead. Smith currently running 10th in Pro-Am here, but things closing down now. That last time by, Forekolb ran it's actually about 3/4 of a second off of Steffi's times here, so probably not exactly when the 73 is looking to lose pace to his competitor, but we'll see what happens here as we stay on board with the 73 as they track down. Gap now to Steffi almost 1 3/4 seconds, so definitely fell off the pace there that towards the exit of the infield.
Yeah, just a little bit. A bit further down the order, Frederick Lavoie is catching up a little bit to the back of Andrew. This is Andrew Rasmussen. I wonder if that position, if that pace can be maintained. I don't think actually, I think Frederick Lavoie is actually is being dropped a little bit, so that's something that may not materialize into a race.
And I was just going to say that Lavoie's car still does not look very happy going through turn 1, making the transition off the oval. Remember, Lavoie was the driver that went basically split 4 different cars going through turn 1 very early in this race, and still not very happy there. As we jump back on board for the battle for the lead, and look at this. Much like I mentioned earlier, I thought that Sturgios and Ellis were going to be able to close the gap down to the McLarens, and Sturgios now makes his way up into the lead, and looks like both of the McLarens just running out of gearing, you got it going down into turn one as Campbell and Brunner now drop back into third and fourth, and they're going to use this section of the track, the infield, which is where they might have the advantage, at least over the Porsche, to see if they can get back around. But, it's a question of almost being a sitting duck when they get out onto the oval there, especially towards the end. We'll have to see whether or not if they can use the draft to keep up with the cars ahead. But I think this might be a harbinger that even if they do manage to make their way back around now, as we've got less than 10 minutes remaining here, if it came down to the very last lap coming out of the bus stop, would they be able to hold off that BMW or that Porsche? And I just don't know if they could.
No, I don't know. I mean, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Realistically, I don't know if they're actually going to be if they're going to be able to or not. As you say, we're going to have to see. We haven't got too long to find out though, because we've only got less than 10 minutes left of racing. So we're going to have to see. I wonder if Alex Ellis is going to try and make a move. Possibly nothing into the bus stop as of yet. Actually, no. So I wonder if Sean Campbell's going to try and make a move on Alex Ellis instead. Campbell gets a good run. Have a look at that. Look at the delta on the left-hand side, the interval. The gap from Sean Campbell to Alex Ellis is already down under 0.2 of a second. I think this is where it really starts, people really start to push now at this stage of the race. You've only got 4 or 5 laps left to go. What is there to lose? Still quite a lot, but you haven't got very long left. Look at the limiter on the left-hand side. Pinging off the limiter is Sean Campbell. Has to back out of it, though.
Yeah, just no more throttle, no more gearing to give there as they come down into turn one. But you can see how much more speed that McLaren carries through turn one and into the infield compared to the Porsche. Again, that is certainly the advantage. I think probably also a little bit of a surprise though, and I don't know if you noticed this, the previous lap as our leaders went down into turn one, but Justin Brunner had dropped off almost 0.6 of a second, and he spent the next lap almost that entire run on the oval trying to draft back up to Sean Campbell. I don't know if he's got an issue there, or if he is, perhaps feeling that he's running a little low on fuel. Remember, a week ago at Imola, we had a couple of drivers that just got the fuel fill from their second pit stop just slightly wrong and had to drop into the pits with about in some cases with 1 or maybe 2 laps remaining. As we take a look now in the rear view camera of Alex Ellis, and he's got Sean Campbell just absolutely locked to his rear bumper here as they go around the back straight heading down towards the bus stop.
Yeah, I think Sean Campbell's got to try and have some patience, but he knows full well that he can't get the run on Alex Ellis with the current car configuration that he's got. So he's got to try and be a bit sneaky, be a bit smart with this here, because let's see, if he does it at the wrong point, he's just not going to have that pace. Have a look now at that gap. It's just hovering at that 10th of a second. And if anything, now, here we go. This is now Alex Ellis pulling away a little bit. So you know full well that Sean Campbell is absolutely pinned to the floor. Well, I imagine he would be pinned to the floor. I could be wrong. He might have something just there or thereabouts. He might have something left in the bag. But it's going to have to be timed absolutely perfectly to be able to come out of it. Because if it doesn't, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and the last 2 times out of the bus stop, we've noticed here where Sturgios gets a great jump out of the bus stop, and I think you see there that Ellis is so concerned with the McLaren right behind him, he can't do much about it. He manages to draft back up finally as they hit the turn in for turn one, and if anything, I think Sturgios may have I'd say the slowest car going into turn one. He gets on the brakes, I think, a little bit heavier than the other two. But the point is that the Porsche and the 2 McLarens, they can't really do anything about it going in there. If they try to go wide, they run the risk of getting into that very slick part of the pavement over there. Very hard to get the car woed down and get it set up for turn 2. And I just, I don't know if there's anything to gain there, that they are going to have to make the pass here, either going into the bus stop or before they get to turn 1.
Well, either way, a pass is going to have to be made sooner rather than later. We've only got around about, I would imagine, 3 laps left of round 1 here for the Race Anywhere Transatlantic Series. battling a bit further down the field as well. Jackson Starrett and Nicholas Belmont, they're going to go through down into turn 4 side by side. Who's going to be coming out on top? I think, do you know what? It might be Nicholas Belmont. Yes, it is indeed. So a good little scrap between these two guys here, and it's still not over yet.
Yeah, Start's not done yet as they make their way down towards the little kink at turn 4. And, oh, Start, he's got the rear end. He steps out on him as they now come down into turn 5. And now, finally, Belmont has cemented that position. That is the battle for 11th position in the pro class. But a great little battle there with just a few moments left, as we can see up and down this almost 60-car field. Nobody really giving anything up, giving no quarter until the very last minute, as we have just 4 minutes remaining. Let's jump now over to Pj Steffi in the number 49 Porsche, and he's got Eric Kulaga just ahead of him and just got by Joseph Smith. Smith currently running 9th in Pro-Am. Steffi still trying to make up ground. He is running 2nd in the AM category. He's got Kyle Hurlitzky 2 cars ahead. So he's got he's still got to manage to make his way around Eric Kulaga just ahead in the 66 car, but he is being hounded, absolutely hounded by Joseph Smith, and I think he's got Steven Martinez in there, as well as Martinez currently running 3rd in the AM category.
Yes, indeed. 3 minutes left to go. And we're seeing movement up and down the grid as we would naturally expect. Blake Scott and Frederick Lavoie having a battle. I wonder if Blake Scott passed Frederick Lavoie a few moments ago. I'm just going to try and find that information out for you. And yes, he did. Let's have a look at that pass now. Get a bit of a replay up for you. And going into, brave into turn 1. Brave into turn 1 there for Blake Scott.
Comes all the way down on the apron. Now that last lap by, he was almost a second faster than Lavoie. There ran in the 144s, whereas Lavoie was in the mid 145s. But Lavoie not giving up the battle yet, as the drivers come out of turn 6 back onto the oval here, and we'll see how that BMW does, trailing behind the Lamborghini. You can already see it. Look at all the ground that he picks up, and he drives right underneath the number 22 machine as if it was standing still.
Impressive, that isn't it? Very, very impressive. Frederick Lavoie not giving up this position anytime soon, and I find it fantastic. Again, these rivalries between the different car classes. What I love about GT racing is you can have completely different driving styles, completely different cars, and you can still be battling this close after 75 minutes. It's absolutely fantastic stuff. I love GT racing. I will always love GT racing for this reason. Battle up the front though, Alex Ellis versus Pj Sturgios. Who is going to come out on top going forward? This may actually be the last lap. Do you know what? I think it might be. It is. Look at this. There's going to be... Actually, no, apologies. There is one more lap to go. I was thinking a completely different place here. I was thinking they were coming across the start-finish line, but they weren't. Pj Sturgios, though, still grabs up and still maintains the position over Alex Ellis for the moment. Ellis tried it, didn't he? He tried to give it a go. I wonder... He might have Sean Campbell that he's got to contend with behind Sean Campbell. This is it. This is Sean Campbell's time.
As Campbell now comes around the outside, are they going to make it 3 wide coming down into turn number 1? Campbell, as he runs out of gearing at just the wrong spot, he drops back, slots back into 3rd, with Alex Ellis having to hold on there in 2nd position. Not quite close enough to Pj Sturgios, but now going hard under braking, going into the International Horseshoe. What happens? Sturgios holds him off, but then he's got Alex Ellis to contend with. Ellis now side by side with Campbell there, and Campbell, for the moment, had 2nd place as they now make their way through the kink. They're going to head over now towards turn 5, towards the 2nd horseshoe, as they make the run over towards the outside. And there you go. We have a new 2nd place runner. We're going to have to see if he can hold off Ellis and the Porsche this last time by as they now make their way around. Only 5 seconds left on the clock. This is going to be the checkered flag when we come back around. But Pj Sturgios, again, a great jump. And those BMWs, they are getting great jumps out of the slower corners, coming off of the infield and also coming out of the bus stop. But it is now the McLaren of Sean Campbell. Started off on the front row, and now Campbell moves side by side with Sturgios as they come down to the bus stop.
Whoa.
And now taking the lead, Sean Campbell. He just bent that car into the bus stop, and look at this. He comes out with almost not a 6, but a 3-car length advantage over Sturgios. Is he going to be able to hold off the BMW? BMW's not even in the frame as they come now down the front straight here on the tri-oval. Can that McLaren hold off Sturgios? Sturgios driving center of track, trying to hold off Brunner, who's gotten around Ellis as well, taking the win in round number 1. It is Sean Campbell, our pole sitter. Justin Brunner, he's going to have to settle for 3rd tonight, finishing back behind the BMW of Pj Sturgios. Alex Ellis, who for so long had been running up in 2nd, he is going to finish just off the podium in 4th. Harry Wills, great run for him tonight in the Merc. He finishes in 5th, makes up 4 positions overall. Derek Ekmanis will finish in 6th. And then taking the win in Pro-Am, waiting for him to come across. Here he comes. We've got the Mercedes of Streeba. And I don't think Treber's crossed the stripe. There you go. Treber crosses the stripe. Then we've got Leiden Lee in his Porsche, that white Porsche across the stripe. He's going to finish 2nd in the Pro-Am category.
He will finish first, sorry. That's he will Leiden Lee is finishing. Alex Streeba is actually part of the Pro division, not the Pro-Am division. So Leiden Lee, you can see how happy he is there, taking that race win, taking the class win, sorry, in the Pro-Am. And here we go, Carl Hurlitzky coming across down the oval for the final time here in the number 99 Lamborghini, and he will be finishing in that all-important top step. First race out, fair play for Carl Hurlitzky. Top 3 in each category as well. This has given him a great confidence boost going forward into the remainder of the season.
Yeah, absolutely tonight. Great run here at Daytona. Hurlitzky ends up making up I believe a couple positions here. We're showing, well, again, I don't know how accurate that is. We show that he made up overall to take the win in the AM category, 32 positions, which is absolutely stellar. And actually, we have a lot of the AM category drivers that, of course, that AM category, they started off, they were the very last pack to start the race, and they really just worked their way up through the Pro-Am. Finishing 2nd in the AM category was Steffi in the Porsche 911, made up 34 positions. Steven Martinez, who did lead the AM category for a while, he finishes in 3rd in his Porsche. He only made up 16 positions here tonight. The underachiever taking the last step in the podium, but great run for Mr. Martinez. And this was just absolutely spectacular to watch under the lights here at Daytona. Lots of great racing across the 3 fields. And I'll tell you, when we saw the McLarens of Campbell and Brunner start to drop down the field, and frankly Menino as well, but had dropped down towards the tail end of the pro category, even after the entire field had taken their second pit stops. I was very surprised to look back and find Campbell and Brunner back up in the lead there. But we knew Sturgios, who had so much pace in practice tonight, and frankly in practice yesterday as well, that he was certainly going to make a run for it. And I guess they say something about something of steel going down into the bus stop there, and Sean Campbell showed his mettle on the very last lap.
He did, absolutely. He just timed it perfectly. He really, really did. I mean, genuinely, that was, as timings go, you could not get much better than that, I don't think. That was absolutely fantastic. Great stuff to see, and is exactly what we want and what we want to see. We're going to bring you up the finishing results in a few moments for each class, and that is going to be coming up to you in, like I said, but a few moments' time. And then we're going to have a quick chat with a few of our drivers, and then we'll be having to wrap up for this particular event for race 1. Oh, Greg, if these races are going to be like this, oh my goodness, I am not going to mind in the slightest.
Not in the slightest at all. All right, so let's take a look here as we bring up the finishing order here in the AM category, and you can see there taking the win by a little less than 7 seconds, Kyle Hurlitzky in the Boatman Racing machine there, with Steffi finishing second and Martinez in the Vulture Motorsports entry taking the last step on the podium for the second week in a row, finishing fourth in the AM category. Errol Yeriksoy in the Emerlex Mercedes with Jerry Forkold, Michael Fowler, Dan Floria, Drew Neubauer, Ken Soska, and Andrew Hewitt rounding out the top 10. A little bit of a surprise there. Looks like John Casey. John Casey also for the second week in a row in the 046 Racing Machine, finishing in 11th. So Mr. Consistency there over 2 races. Of course, this is the first one that counts. So let's go. We'll take a look at the Pro-Am results.
And they are coming up now for you, and here we go.
All right, there we go. And as you mentioned, Alex Streeba not running in the Pro-Am category, taking the win tonight in the Verve Racing Porsche 911. Leiden Lee, Dan Tenorio had a great run tonight, finishing in second in his Lamborghini. The Twisted Racing Team entry, Zach Gregory in the Riddle Rocket Racing entry. Say that 10 times real fast. And that was the number 60 Lamborghini. He takes the last step on the podium. Andrew Rasmussen will finish in 4th. Frederick Lavoie will finish 5th. Eric Kulaga in the Vulture Motorsports entry will finish 6th. Joe Smith will finish in 7th. Michael Kulaga, also running for Vulture Motorsports, he will finish 8th. Blake Scott 9th. Joey Stats, the Inglorious Bastards Racing, apparently a huge fan of oh my gosh, I can't even remember the director all of a sudden. But great, Joey Stats, great run tonight for him in that entry there in our Soul Ford GT40. And as you can see, Costa, Sigelkow, Massett, Metzger, Cooper, Houston, Hunter, and Tyler Campbell. Unfortunately for Tyler Campbell, had the unfortunate incident there. He was our winner last week at Imola, and unfortunately he's going to finish at the tail end of the Pro-Am field tonight. So let's take a look now at our Pro category, and taking the win in the TechSense Fitzke Motorsports McLaren, the number 26 machine, was Sean Campbell. Margin of victory, and I'm incredibly surprised given the jumps out of the bus stop that the BMW is making, but margin of victory over Pj Sturgios in the Inex Racing BMW, half a second. There, actually about 0.4 of a second. Justin Brunner in his Inex Racing McLaren will take home the last step on the podium. Alex Willis in the Satellite Racing Porsche 911 carrying that number 1 on the number board. He finishes 4th. Harry Wills, great recovery after last week. Wills will finish 5th. Derek McManus will finish 6th. Alex Streeba 7th. Ryan Koprowski will finish 8th. Dave Menino finishing 9th. James Pierce rounding out the top 10. All right, so let's take a look here. And we now have, Daniel, a number of drivers. They're just sitting back there waiting for us to come in and talk to you and give us the rundown of this great race that they had this evening. Let's do this. Let's bring in first. Why don't we bring in Kyle Hurlitzky, driver of the number 99 machine?
We will indeed bring in Kyle Hurlitzky. Kyle, can you hear us?
Yep, I gotcha.
Brilliant stuff. Well, first off, congratulations on the AM win for race 1. I mean, again, lots of things happening there. A lot more cars than the actual than the pre qualifying round that we had last week at Imola. How was that coping for you? How did it all work out in the end?
Well, I mean, first off, it was a blast. Second of all, I did get a little bit lucky in the beginning. We had a bit of a pileup in turn 2, but overall, I mean, it's just been fantastic racing with these guys. It's unlike any other league I've been in as far as the quality of racing and the show that we can put on.
Absolutely, it is indeed. And, moving forward into next week as well, again, obviously, this has given you, I would imagine, a massive confidence boost. Again, is there anything you're going to be wanting to change in terms of the preparation for next week?
I'm going to need a lot of practice because, I joined this league as kind of a way to force myself to drive more of the GT3s because I have actually very little experience. I'm usually an LMP2 guy when it comes to these types of races. My only preparation is just going to be practice.
Well, I think, to be fair, that's never going to be a bad thing when it comes to, especially with the level of competition that you have got. Carl, we do have a lot of people to go through, unfortunately, so we're not going to be able to ask you more questions. Unfortunately, so I do apologise. But a very quick one though, final thing to wrap up. Would you like to give a shout out to anyone on the broadcast?
I know one of my buddies, Jeff, and his wife Beth, were watching tonight. A couple of good friends of mine, so they're supporting the stream and enjoying the race.
Amazing stuff. Thank you very much, Carl. Again, congratulations on that race win in the AM category, and we look forward to hopefully catching up with you in similar circumstances next week.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, and interesting to note about Kyle, he started 17th tonight in the AM category, worked his way all the way up to the win. That was absolutely impressive. Almost, I don't want to belittle the guy, almost as impressive. Let's bring in Leiden Lee, who took the win tonight in the Pro-Am category. Daniel, he only made up 11 positions in the Pro-Am category
Leiden.
to take the win tonight. Yeah, so let me hand them over to you now.
No worries, thank you very much. Leiden, again, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
You can, brilliant stuff. Leiden, congratulations on the Pro-Am win. We were just saying there as well, 11 positions were made up in that race. Sorry, 19 positions overall were made up for you in that race from obviously where you started. Admittedly, that was obviously a mixture of getting past some pro drivers as well. Moving forward for that for you in terms of, how did that go? Because it looked like, to be fair, a relatively still an eventful race for yourself, but at the same time, it was nice and controlled. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was pretty bonkers getting through the pro field. Yeah, it was fun though. I liked it. Good. Is this in terms of, obviously this is for us as well, this is learning the league. We are learning the league just as much as everyone else is, from the broadcast perspective. So, from your side and from your perspective as well, like where do we feel that it would be a main sort of area of focus of improvement, like, moving forward into next week? Is there, I'd obviously taken the win, which is fantastic, but, naturally as drivers, we always want to make sure we improve and develop and move forward. Like, what do you think would be a key area for yourself going forward into next round? Learning to control the Porsche under low fuel. It got really skittish near the end.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, I think I have heard that a couple of times from people saying that the Porsche is a little bit sketchy and it can be a little bit touchy sometimes. But I mean, ultimately though, you managed to keep it all in check and to move forward with it really, really well. So, like I said, race win overall in the Pro-Am category. Sorry, for round 1, and I'm sure this will give you some good points haul. Obviously, naturally with 100 points for the win, and also going to give you some good confidence going into the next week.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Final thing from me, from myself then, Leiden. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
Yeah, my homie Zippy. I like him because his eyebrows are nice. Yeah, he told me to say that.
Well, no problem at all.
Thanks,
no problem at all. There we are. Well, thank you very much, Leiden. Pleasure as always, and very, very good stuff. Congratulations again on the win.
Thank you.
All right, so
we just lost Greg for a moment there.
Well, yeah, we got you here. Let's bring in our final interview of the night, and it's Ryan Koprowski, driver of the number 61 machine, finished 7th tonight in the Pro class.
There we go. So, Ryan, can you hear us?
Yes, good evening, guys.
Good evening, Ryan. Thank you very much for jumping into the broadcast. Ryan, so P8 for yourself in the pro category. How did that go for you? Obviously, losing one position compared to obviously where you started in the race. I mean, that's not bad going realistically for 75 minutes. Consistent, controlled. How did that fare for you in that race from your perspective?
Got up to, I maintained position on the start, which is what I wanted to, stay out of lap 1 trouble. However, as it always tends to be at Daytona, you get that slowdown at the exit of the bus stop, and that really costed me, especially at lap 1, we're all bunched up together. But honestly, at that point, I was just kind of focusing on driving clean laps consistently, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised I made it all the way back up to 8th. And then once the safety car was thrown out, I was like, all right, we actually have a shot to get back. So, yeah, really, really pleased with that. That was a great racing too by everybody. Didn't really have any major complaints there, so it was great.
Good stuff indeed. And I've asked this as well with the other, with a couple of other interviews. Moving forward, what's going to be? Is there anything going to change in terms of preparation for next week? Is something you're going to be looking at, particularly focusing on within practice? What's your thoughts?
Let's see. So considering next week's at Spa, I mean, obviously Spa track, I would feel like everybody knows. But it's definitely going to be bring its own set of challenges, for sure. But I think I'll put definitely a lot of practice in, just like I did for this. Even though considering Daytona is my home track, I mean actually, I live within walking distance of the speedway, so I mean that's like pretty home if you ask me. But yeah, I think I'll go into the same mindset with practice of just getting the consistency down, and then maybe the consistency will pay off. Not necessarily being the quickest out of everybody, but definitely just the clean consistency will pay off in the end.
Absolutely. Consistency is key. That is always the case. Brian, thank you very much for tuning into the broadcast and for jumping into an interview. Final thing from me then, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to on the stream?
Yeah, I'd like to give a huge shout out to my 3 technically other teammates on Team Brittle Rocket Racing. That's Wilson Brewer, Zachary Gregory, and Alejandro Yaramillo. I'm not quite sure what happened to Wilson or Alejandro today, but huge shout out to them for putting all the prep in and getting excited to go racing. And then also giving a shout out to anyone still watching the stream. I know we're at the very end of the broadcast, so making it all the way through. But yeah, that's it. Can't wait to see y'all next week. Super stoked.
Brilliant stuff, Ryan. We look forward to catching up with you again on the interview. So very well done again on P8 overall in the pro class for you.
All right, thank you so much, guys.
All right, there you go. Ryan Koprowski, and I got it wrong, and unfortunately, not for the good. Ryan finishing 8th tonight in the pro class. Thanks so much for joining us here, and as we get ready to wrap things up here for race week 1, pardon me, from Daytona, have a couple of folks that we want to thank, of course, our great sponsors, Race Anywhere. As we talked about the great specials that they have going on right now with monitor stands, but they also have a great number of sim rigs that they offer, rig accessories, wheels, pedal sets, and a whole lot more. To find out about them, go to raceanywhere.co.uk. Of course, we talked about Sim 3D with some great button boxes and immersion kits for your sim rig. Find out more about them at www.sim-3d.co.uk. And of course, if you want to find out more about the Race Anywhere Transatlantic Championship, see our hosts, the World Series Leagues. You can find out more about the series at www.worldseriesleagues.co.uk. And so, as we wrap up here, we're going to be at Spa-Francorchamps next Wednesday night, 8:20 p.m. For another 75-minute sprint for race 2. And if you like what you saw here tonight, go ahead, please give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to the Absolute Sim Racing YouTube channel so you can see all the great motorsports action that they have for you across the globe and all during the week. And so for my great partner Daniel Handover, I'm Greg Ginsberg, and we will see you next Wednesday night.